it's Michelle, the Southern Shell, and I'm going to walk you through the process that I did making my polymer clay marbled earrings covered with resin. So a few items that I need to get started. You're going to need your clay. I'm using SCULPTY translucent. I'm also going to have some SCULPTY liquid clay, and that's going to help hold everything together. I have my rollers, I have my cutters, and there will be other items I will use later on in this video, but this is what you need to get started. So I'm just going to chop off a few little lengths of clay here, just right off the block, and then I'm going to chop them into little pieces. It does not have to be any way, shape, or form. I did stop and get a bigger piece to cut my clay with, a bigger blade. The one I was using was a little dull. I use that one quite a bit, so I went ahead and pulled off another one to get us started. And here we go with the next step. Now this is where we're bringing out our alcohol inks, and I have Ranger alcohol ink in moss, in patina, and in black. And as you see, I'm just dropping some right on where I separated that clay into 3 even sections. Of course, I'm using my gloves here because I don't want to get that alcohol ink on my hands. It will stain. And so I just continue mixing it until it covers those outside pieces very well. As you see, I'm not changing my gloves out as I move because I'm starting with the lighter color and moving on up to the darker ink color until I get them all finished. I'm just continuing to move this clay around in this alcohol ink to make sure it is all covered on the outsides so that they have a good coating before I put on the gold leaf. It is now time for the gold leafing, and I'm taking one sheet down across the bottom. I already put a half sheet on each of the pieces at the top, so I'm going to go ahead and pull one in half and lay it across. I am going to put on gloves now. The alcohol ink is dry, but that gold leafing tends to stick to your skin, and it's just a pain to get cleaned off when you're continuing to craft. So once you get it all done, you're going to go ahead and mix these together, and I'm going to use the liquid clay by SCULPTY, and that liquid clay is going to create a bond between all those little pieces, and now I'm going to go ahead and shape it into a cylinder. Now you can shape it into a cube, you can shape it into a circle. I am actually going to go ahead and shape this into a cylinder, and I'm going to start slicing these once that is all squeezed together. And I know that all those little pieces that I've cut are now formed into one ball of clay. I'm going to cut this about 1/4 inch, and I'm going to lay these out. I want you to lay them out so they're all touching and try to create a sort of square out of these oval pieces. You're going to use your rolling pin, and you're going to roll them out until all of the pieces have now blended together and created one sheet. This may take a while, so just take your time and keep on rolling it. I'm just switching it on over to the other side of my wax paper there. It's not as dirty with the other clay marks and the other gold, and it was just sticking to the board, so I just wanted to pull it out. And so now I'm pulling out my teardrop cutters, and I'm going to cut different sizes of teardrop shapes out of this now marbleized green, black, and gold clay. The only rhyme or reason I'm doing here is making sure that I can get the most cut out of this clay sheet that I can without compromising the strength of my clay. Now go ahead and start pulling off the negative area around your cuts, and try not to pull the teardrop cuts. And then you will see this is what they look like before baking. Aren't they beautiful? Next step, UV resin. I am using Let's Resin UV resin, and I have an LED UV light. I just poured a little bit of resin in my cup. I'm putting on my gloves because you always want to wear gloves when you're dealing with resin. And I'm using a silicone brush to actually spread it across the already baked clay pieces. This is going to help it spread nice and even without adding a thick layer of resin to the pieces. Once I get the first layer on and making sure that the edges are covered as well, I'm going to slide it under my UV lamp and let it go for the 90 seconds. And then I will be working on my second piece while that is going, and I will continue to work and slide them in, keeping that light going as long. That way I know it's being cured for multiple minutes before I turn it over and do the back side. Now that each of these top pieces are done, it's time to work on the back sides. I'm going to make sure that I have holes in the tops of those that I want holes in. I want to mark them first so I make sure that they're nice and even. You can also do this step after they are all done and cured. It just depends on what you want to do. I like to start when my top side is done so that I have a good starting point when the back side is done. And I am using one of my mini drill bits in my Dremel to get these started. And here are what the pieces look like after the resin has been cured, and they are beautiful. Now it's time to get them cleaned up and ready to go on the earring hooks and get some creativity going with these beauties. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. I tried to keep it short and sweet but informative. As always, guys, stay safe. God bless. Bye for now.